If you ask any guitarist, they love Vox. I love an AC30. Big fan of the AC15. Love the hand-wired. Cool, do you own one? Nope. And what do they own? A deluxe reverb. Like, what do you own? Oh, I own a JTM. I'm like, right on. So like everyone loves a Vox. No one owns a Vox. And I find that very interesting. People sometimes own matchless amps. I know a guy with a matchless. I know a guy with the Bad Cat. I don't know anyone who has a vintage AC30. That might just be me. So take that with a grain of tube amps. If you had to define the Vox sound, the classic Vox sound, what would it be? Chimey, not brittle, not scooped, great barky mids. Not like a tree, but like a dog. And not a lot of low end, right? Sometimes you hear it and it feels like it's a muffled sound. It's got a very unique sound. And I'm not sure if you guys have watched it, but the 5 Watt World's video on the history of the AC30 and history of Marshall, it's really interesting to think that Vox was the #1 amp. I mean, the Beatles played Vox AC30s, right? Until Marshall came around and just took over. So first, let's find the nicest clean sound on the Ruby 63. Then we're gonna go through its features, and then we're gonna compare it to the Iridium. We're gonna do all sorts of stuff, okay? Here we go. The first thing that's important about the Ruby is that there's 3 different amp heads essentially built in here, which I think is pretty cool. And each amp head has a corresponding boost associated with it. So the top channel is the brilliant channel of a top boost AC30. The second, the normal channel, the middle one, that's a non-top boost 61 AC30. And the bottom is the vibrato channel of a 63 top boost. The top one has the most gain. The middle one is great for pedal platforms. And the bottom one has vibrato and has a slightly different EQ curve and not quite as much gain as the top one. So like those are your choices of amp heads within it, which is kind of cool. Let's start off with the brilliant and see what the nice clean sound is here. Because everyone knows the clean Vox sound is a great sound. Mixers love it, recording engineers love it, guitarists like it as a pedal platform. I know a lot of worship guitarists love it too. So let's see what it's all about. So the cut knob adjusts like the filtering processes, but basically what it does is it makes it brighter or darker. It's like a gigantic EQ curve, think of it that way. So all the way down means all the top end. Okay, so somewhere in the middle, it's probably where, let's start here. The same thing works on the treble and the bass. They're reversed, so you turn up the treble, less treble, turn up the bass, less bass, right? Ideally, you move these in conjunction with each other, and it kind of then is instead becoming a mid curve, because obviously treble boost goes down, but relatively mids are coming up, right? And vice versa. Get a just nice sparkly clean. Great. Now, does that sound like a Vox sound? I mean, it does to me. Now, and I didn't cover this that well in the Dream 65, but you can actually have the volume all the way at 0, and it still produces output. This is essentially like the lowest usable gain setting is what Universal Audio said. They want, even at the bottom, like that's like the lowest usable gain on the actual amp that they're modeling. At this level, really just feels like you're playing into like a Roland JC120. Like, it's hard to tell the characteristics of the amp. So usually around here is where you start to hear like, oh, that's an amp, not just like a... Then once you get to 12 o'clock, that's when you start to hear some real dynamics. You can start to hear some breakup. But the clean sound around here, That sounds kind of mid-scooped. Let's pull that up. Nice, like really, it's a really nice clean sound. Like you can certainly stack stuff on top of that. Now let's check the clean sound of this. Now the normal channel is like their pedal platform channel, right? And on the normal channel, bass and treble don't work. It's just volume and cut, just like it was on the original 61. Pretty sizable gain there. And I think the best way to EQ this actually is to use speaker sim to find the EQ you want. Still a little breakup. This one better? That's the matchless. That's the 2-rock. Yeah, that would be probably a good pedal platform. Inoffensive, nice little amp touches at that clean setting. Okay, now the first thing that's the much maligned, and I disagree with probably everyone on this. I love a good room sound on an amp, and this has a great room sound. So this is a little over halfway. Very cool. I mean, that's good, dude. So we're on a brilliant channel now. You know, it's got a very raw, loose, you know, messy kind of sound. Now, that's probably a little too much room. Right about there is where I like it. Almost every review I read, it's like, oh, that room, don't love that room. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, why do I always disagree with everyone? You know who has great room sound? Edge of Breakup. He's a Roy on some kind of another condenser mic, I think. But he's got a great room sound on his guitar signal. It sounds really raw and just really a lot of energy in there. Like the reflections aren't crazy. Like it's just a nice sound. Now, with this room sound, I do wish I could change like reflection time. Like, I wish I could change like brightness of it, like put a filter on it, like even a high and a low pass, like that. Now let's check out the vibrato channel. And again, unsung. Like all the reviews, people are like, oh, vibrato's not very good. And of course, I disagree again with everyone on the internet. That's really good. good. It's good, it's good, it's good. Low and slow. It's a good tremolo. I could write a lot with that. And everyone else is wrong. I mean, everyone's taste is different, though. So I should say this. Like, if your taste, you don't like tremolo, all right, okay. Like, of course you wouldn't like that feature. Let's do some comparisons, okay? Classic Vox sound is a 2x12. Pretty close. Like the Iridium, just like when we compare the Dream 65, the Iridium is way more in your face there. There's like no sag. There's no like power amp kind of thing happening. And the Ruby, just like the Dream 65, there's a little bit of that like sag. There's a little bit of that like more like true modeled nature, right? I mean, draw your conclusions there. Like, they're pretty close, but the Ruby, just like the Dream 65, and I'm sure just like the Woodrow, it is a wire-for-wire recreation digitally of that amp. It sounds so much like a real amp. And the Iridium does too. That's what's so funny. It's not like the Iridium doesn't sound like a real amp. It does. It sounds like an AC30. It sounds like the Iridium's like an homage to an AC30, while the Ruby is, they put the AC30 in the box. Iridium gets you like 95% there, but the Ruby with just those little touches, it literally sounds like an amp, just like the Dream 65. If I was a sound guy, like would either of those two, I would actually prefer the Iridium just because it's like way more apparent. It's way more in your face. On stage, that extra 5%, or even if you want to say 10%, does that matter? I don't think so. In the studio, does that matter? Sometimes. Sometimes it can matter, but it depends on kind of what your vibe is. Like if you're a session guy, you're probably not bringing a Ruby. I don't know any session guys that use Rubies. They usually just have cartridge, bring them a whole, stack of amps. But if you're a home producer, like, and you don't have a good AC30 sim, like this is it, man. Universal Audio just nails this kind of stuff, man. Okay, let's test these boosts out. On the Brilliant channel, they have an EP booster. The low settings, it tames some of the highs. So that's cool, and it does. Let's see where it goes. Let's do max gain. Oh. That's a lot of gain, man. Don't need that much. Probably. On the normal channel, it's a germanium treble booster. Very good, very good, very good. Very cool. I like that. And then on the vibrato channel, it's a clean boost that as you boost it, it gets rid of, it filters out bass frequency. That sounds great. I love that vibrato channel. Everyone else is still wrong. Okay, let's move on. Real quick, we're going to compare max gain, okay? Now, I should say on the Iridium, they also added a boost stage like on top of the drive. So this is probably a little bit more gainy than you would normally have on an AC30. Max gain, a lot more on tap on the Iridium, and a lot more like direct, whereas the Ruby really, you feel like it's more of a tube model there. Okay, now let's go through these speakers because they are great. This is the Celestion Silvers. Here's a classic, like original blue 2x12s. Beautiful. This is 2x12 with Celestion G12Hs. This is a 1x12 AC15 cab with also the blue Bulldog. Is a 2x12 matchless with the G12Hs. And this is a 2-rock. Lots of different speaker combinations. They all sound great, just like the Dream 65. And if you have no IRs, like this is a great pedal. Now let's test it being a pedal platform real quick. I'm using the normal channel. That's what they recommend. There's a little bit less gain on it. It's more headroom, which means it's not going to break up internally as much, which means you throw more at it, right? And without coloring the sound. And when you have a pedal platform, you want it to be reliable, you want it to be even, you want it to have nice tone and clarity throughout the frequency spectrum of what a guitar would be like in the mix, or like if you're in a mix live or you're in the studio. We're on the silver Bulldog 1x12 first speaker. It's a nice even sound, right? That's what you would want for a pedal platform. It's not scooped, but there's certainly... It's not scooped. There's a little bit of hair on it. It's good. Let's try it with an EP booster. Nice. So a lot of times if you're playing a single coil guitar, you'd add a compressor and then a boost after it too, to get some real punch. This is my clean. Good, man, a handle. Now let's see how it handles some drive. This is a Joyo Torin, which is a Klon style pedal. Turn up the gain some more. Sounds good, man. This is an OCD from Full Tone, rest in peace. It's in high power, let's go in low power mode. The only thing is I kind of wish there was a little more high end on this pedal. Like, if this is supposed to be the pedal platform channel, the normal channel, there's really not a lot of high end. And if you switch to tons of high end there, and you have the added benefit of you get bass and treble back, which is ideal. Like, that's a much fuller, and I can work with that. Like, I can pull back. It's taking drive in a different way. It's pushing it way more into overdrive than you would want, right? That's closer to what the OCD sounds like. This is plate reverb from the Flint. Yeah. Good. Now let's see if it can handle some modulation. This is chorus from the Joyo Vision. Add some comp on that, right? Yeah. I think the Ruby can be a better pedal platform than the Dream 65, actually. It just has a little bit more of that mid-range, the speaker selection. I think it really speaks to being a pedal platform pedal much better. See if the Iridium can handle these pedals. Try some compressor. Yeah, and some boost. Yeah, the Tauren. The OCD. Adding some verb. Some chorus. Yeah. And let's make it weird. Sounds great too, right? But you can see that what the difference is there, right? It's so weird because it's like it's not an AC30. The Ruby is also not an AC30, but the Ruby is an AC30 in spirit, right? The Iridium is that in like an estimation or as an homage, just like with the Dream 65. The Iridium is just much more in front. And I think that has to do with the nature of the IRs, okay? Like an IR and a speaker simulation, they're just completely different beasts, and they handle things completely different ways. Like if I played you the Iridium Chime channel, you'd be like, cool, that's a Vox. But if I played you the Ruby on any of the channels, you'd be like, whoa, that's like, is there a Vox in your room with you? And that's really the main difference there. Like not only does it sound that way, but like it interacts that way. And that's, you know, across all the UAFX pedals. One of the cool things and one of the frustrating things about UAFX is that they have these presets that have like things that aren't in the pedal, but in the preset. Like they have different room settings. They have like different EQs. They have like different boosts even. It's like, wait a second, like throw those in here. Like I'll control, like I would be fine with using an app if it gave me access to controls that are outside of the knobs there. I'm like, okay, that's a compromise I'm definitely willing to make. Let us have access to that. Like, it doesn't make any sense that you would only allow that to be in a preset. You're saying, like, this is what Bluetooth can do. You can control it from there. It's like, okay, but let me control it from there. I don't know why they wouldn't let me do that. That's pretty frustrating. But let's go through some of these. This is called Bright Chimes. This is a custom EQ curve on this one. This is wobble trem, classic single pulse tremolo sound. Yeah. That's great. Like, let me have access to these things. Come on. Custom extra large Hall and slow harmonic tremolo. Extra large Hall, slow harmonic tremolo. Wouldn't we want access to that? Very cool. Modern May, based on a custom split cabinet. Green and blue mod speakers, dynamic 421s, panned hard left right, so it's stereo. Also uses a special input cap, option 1 value on range boosters for less bass. Writing paperbacks. This is the Beatles one. Top boost on 10 with a custom condenser 67. Sounds great. And there's hosts of other presets too. Now, since it's all Bluetooth and it's all software, theoretically, Universal Audio could give us access to that. It would just take a couple clicks and these packets could come down and you could download them. I mean, I would be even willing to pay for these things, right? To have access to different room sounds, to have access to, EQ curves or hard panning stereo cabs or different microphone options like off-axis 67. Like, yeah, dude, like I'd love that. And this is my question to Universal Audio. Do you think I'm not responsible enough for that kind of thing? Do you think like I'm a child? You think I can't handle it? Huh? You think I can't turn knobs and find a good sound? I'm sure that's not what they think. But the shortcomings of the Ruby are the secondary knobs and the Bluetooth. But if they added that, I wouldn't consider those shortcomings. I would just consider those like that's the quirky nature of this pedal and this product line, that you get the most value and the most control out of it over Bluetooth. And perhaps if it speaks Bluetooth, you could theoretically connect it to a Bluetooth MIDI controller where it would, you would have an always on Bluetooth connection that would then be speaking to like your MIDI controller, MIDI host. The functionality would be insane. It could be amazing. And since Bluetooth, we learned, I can't remember who commented this, but the Bluetooth is always on the Ruby and all these UAFX pedals. So that does raise some questions in terms of like security and signal interference. That does mean, though, that it's very unlikely you would have loss of connection if you were connected to something Bluetooth, like for a show or in the studio. If you have the Iridium, should you buy the Ruby? No. No. If they had access to all that extra stuff in the app, yes. Iridium gets you to 90%, not more than passing a great sounding AC30. The Ruby takes it the extra 10%. Like it takes it from sounding great to it is literally an amp in there somehow. But is that difference going to be realized within like the context settings? Like if you're on stage, will they know it's an Iridium or a Ruby? No. If you're in the studio, maybe. But again, like within the context of a mix, I'm not just talking about playing solo, playing in a mix, which brings you to this. Here's a quick track I put together using the Ruby and using the Iridium for the rhythm and the lead lines. You tell me if you can tell the difference.
I'm worried about you. The rumors can't all be true. Not the same old routine. Said you wanna break, that's clean. Before you pack up your favorite albums away, just know you can't find what they love to show on the screen. Just close your eyes and take a breath and come back down from that.
Just like the last time when we did the Dream 65 comparison, like there's a very distinct tonal characteristic of these UAFX and the Iridium. The Iridium is way more in front, way more present, and the UAFX pedals are a little more laid back and a little more realistic on how it would sound in a room. But that doesn't mean that it sits better in a mix. It just is like a preference. So if you own an Iridium, I really don't think you need a Ruby. Like your Chime sounds great. Like it's a great AC30 style sound. But if you don't have either of them, it depends on what you're looking for. The Iridium has three different channels, a Fender style, an AC30 style, and a Plexi JCM 800 style. And the Ruby has three different kinds of an AC30. You can put in your own IRs in the Iridium, but the Ruby has amazing speaker simulation. The Iridium can do MIDI, but the Ruby has all these amazing presets that you don't really have access to, the little tweaking aspects of it, which is too bad. As we saw, like the pedal platform-wise, they both can do it, no problem. I'm going to compare the Ruby to the Revival drive as well. I'm also going to go through some of these really cool York IRs with the Ruby, because the Ruby actually pairs great with the IRs from York Audio. And then I'm going to go over like what humbuckers sound like on the Ruby, because it really sends the Ruby into a cool direction. I'm really going to try to put it through the same kind of tests I did last time with the Dream 65. And if you want to watch all my Dream 65 videos, here's a playlist I have of all of them. Thanks.